Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to our beloved Montpellier. That's right, it's a FIS World Series 2018 presented by SFR, Montpellier Mediterranean Metropole, and Honor for the Brave. We are about to get ready to do our UCI BMX Freestyle World Cup Men's Semi-Final. The action is going on right behind us, and our expert commentator is over here, like always, Daryl Now. Daryl, thanks for joining me.
Ryan, it's an absolute pleasure to be here with you, and also with the hundreds of thousands of fans that are pouring in to Montpellier. Yes, I did say hundreds of thousands. Over the 5-day event, we have over 600,000 riders, or fans of riders, I should say, come down and cheer on our athletes. We had our qualifier yesterday, and we have our top 24 riders who are ready to battle it out in the ring to see which 12 will move on to our final.
Talking about all the hundreds of thousands of spectators come out here to Montpellier, we have many other events around the globe, bringing this to be the world's largest action sports festival on the planet. Let's take a look and see where else we're heading this year. Obviously, we started it off, if you guys were following the tour, Japan. Hiroshima, that was the first time I've ever been to Japan, and that's the first time we took the FIS there. It was an amazing stop, but for the 22nd year in a row, we've done Montpellier now. Just finishing it up with the last 2 days. There's still time to get out here for tomorrow. Edmonton, Canada, across the Atlantic, is going to be July 13th to 15th. Then moving back to Budapest, Hungary. Second time we are able to go over to that beautiful city. And then finishing it off, like we always do annually, in Chengdu, China, going to be November 2nd to 4th. Make sure you guys mark those ones on your agenda. They're stops that you want to make it to. So we're talking about how things work out here in the BMX world, and something I have to touch on right now is we have the call that possibly there's going to be rain for our finals tomorrow. How is that going to change the format, Daryl?
Well, Ryan, that's a really good part to bring up. Mother Nature can play a role. We're an outdoor action sports festival. So if today we run through our entire semifinal, that means that our scores will actually count for our final. But the way that we're going to break down today is that we have 24 of our top qualified athletes. So they had a qualifier yesterday. We cut the pack down to 24. They are going to be taking 2 runs apiece in 6 different heats of 4 riders. And the way that that is going to work is going to be best run that counts, and the 12 will be progressing on. So when we break it down, 24 riders, 6 different heats of 4 riders, 2 runs up to 60 seconds, and the best run counts. So again, I just want to make clear, I sometimes stress this, if you're the first rider or the last rider to go, you're basically sitting and seating from reverse order from our qualifier, but you're battling every other rider. So there's no favoritism. We're top 12 are going to progress on to the next round. But right now, we're going to take a look at this beautiful masterpiece designed and constructed by Hurricane Ramp Builders. Our boys were out here all week putting together this one-of-a-kind course. You can actually see a few of the riders who are going to be competing on a course, but we have all the different features out here that our 5 judges are going to be basically looking for the riders' direct, unique approach. They want to see their speed, their style, the amount of tricks they could throw in, the way that they could put it all together. And the 5 judges that we have are Van Homan, Bibi Romilad Noro, Igor Vukadinovic, Hank Cleworth, and we also have Luka Kovic. So those are going to be our 5 judges. This is under the watchful eyes of Bart de Jong, who is the head of the UCI, making sure that all of our action is going to be the best possible. Now, Ryan, let's take a look at our first 12 riders.
Going up there, we have a very international field, starting off with Paul Tulin, Kevin Proraza, Brandon Lupos, Marin Rantes, Kenneth Tencio, Nakarumi Rim from Japan, Justin Dowell, Kyle Baldock, Joel Bondu, Alex Colborn, Edith Gaizev, and Kostya Andreev.
Our next page is going to be Jake Leva, Daniel Sandoval, Cam Peake, Anthony Jean-Jean, Ryan Nyquist, Brian Fox, Colton Walker, Daniel Dares, Logan Martin, Kostya Andreev, Nick Bruce, and your number one qualifier, which I'm so proud to say, Jose Torres Gil. So those are going to be your 24 riders that are on the course. We can just take a look at the Les River as our fans are pouring in. It's still early in the day. We're about just after 1 o'clock here, and we're going to have thousands and thousands of fans wind up pouring in. But you can follow all the action online.
Yes, guys, make sure you guys check out that social media box in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. I'm going to repeat it for you anyways. Follow us on Facebook, fees.official. Twitter and Instagram handle is at FeesWorld. So you can get us on Snapchat, FeesWorld Series, and hashtag all your posts for this one in particular, Fees Montpellier, to stay involved with the action.
But I'm going to bring it back to the reality right here as we're looking at that battlefield. This is one of the best Feast courses we have ever seen. We have something a little different than Hiroshima, where we did not have a box feature. Here we actually have multiple boxes which are synonymous with Big Tricks, Big Air, and Montpellier. We also have that big volcano double side box that's in the middle of the course, which is going to make for a lot of excitement from our riders.
So here you have the crowd cheering, getting on their feet for our first rider all the way from Germany, the young gun, stepping it up year after year. Coming only into play a couple years ago, but his name is Paul Tulin. He's riding a lot at O40 BMX Park in Eindhoven.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Paul Tulin's style. I know that he's been making quite a name for himself at every single contest that he goes to. Yeah, especially with big backflips like that straight into the cannonball. Paul Tulin is a name that you want to know as we see the high speed and great style floating over that centerpiece volcano I was just talking about. Big backflip transfer right there. Going the distance on that Superman Sea Grab Indian Air into a flare. Wow, so Paul was actually our 24th place qualifier, but I'm telling you, this is looking like a top of the run action that we're seeing out here, even though he is our first rider. This is action-packed as we are just ticking away the seconds, and Paul Tulin is just racking up the points as he has final thoughts coming in. With a flip over the hip at 3, 2, foot plant, and that was a full pull, big run for Paul Tulin. You know what? He is going down at the end of the run, but it does not matter because that was a full pull right there. He might have some points deducted, but when you really action-pack, jam in so many tricks, I mean, the entire run was like a highlight from beginning to end. The enormous height on that backflip, setting up for that cannonball. That's when all limbs come off the bike. You grab both hands on the seat and push the bike extended forward, similar to that Superman seat grab with the Indian Air, except that time you are going to keep your hand on the grip and you're able to manipulate the bike sideways. So Paul Tulin putting down a very big full run. We are looking again at the course. Look at all the bowl features out here. So essentially in Hiroshima, we had a little bit more of a bowl featured course. What I'm talking about is the transitions out there, something that you might find in a concrete park where you're able to actually use the concrete to smooth and make one consistent ramp out there. But in a BMX park, you traditionally will have wood-constructed jumps or features that are kind of designed to be more two-dimensional. Well, this course, Hurricane Parks, put together the perfect hybrid blend between a bowl-shaped featured course and a park feature. So we have both there. Wow, Paul Tulin coming in with a 63.20. So that is going to be the score to beat. Setting the benchmark right there. The max score that could come in is 100 points. You might be saying that score seems a little bit low. We got our 5 judges. Usually the way it works, they want to set the bar for the first rider coming in, and then they're going to wind up judging riders after that. So it's not that his score necessarily isn't a great one, but it's just you got to set the tone of where to go, and you have to be able to build off of that. Well, right now coming in for his first run is Kevin Peraza.
Wow, look at that Superman seat grab with that extension over the spine, step down. Peraza really holding his own as he comes around the park here. Beautiful 360 tail whip to tabletop. This guy has such phenomenal style. I love watching him ride. You guys want to hear a bit more of an interview, go over to our Fees Facebook page, fees.official, and you guys can check out some interviews with some of the riders that we did before the semifinals.
Peraza right now, we're seeing a rider possessed on the course. He is definitely large and in charge. Peraza's family is non-stop BMX. We also know that Premises Skate Park out in Tucson, Arizona, where he rides on the regular, has the live stream going on. What up, Tucson right now, cheering on your boy Kevin as he is knack-knacking with 6 seconds to go. Let's see, around the wall, great wall,
Oh, just sliding a little bit there, but holding on. Peraza, that was a very solid run. Really happy to see him get something like this out in the semis.
Yeah, that was a big run for Peraza. So we're going to take a look at a few of the highlights as Peraza gets full extension right there. That is a picture-perfect Superman seat grab. Give a little shout-out to Cameron Birdwell, also to TJ Lavin, two riders who really wind up pushing that style in the late 90s, early 2000s. And right now we're seeing Peraza holding that torch in 2018 in Montpellier. We talked about him having a BMX family. You can see his brother Victor over there, who is on deck, bottle of water, cheering on his brother as he gets an 80.80.
Really nice score coming out of there. That's a high one that he's going to want to hold on to. Like we were saying, a lot of these athletes are really pushing for getting solid runs in.
Well, our next rider coming in talking about solid runs, he actually was our top finisher in our first stop in Hiroshima. So he was awarded the top points because this is a points race of 10,000. We've got the Australian originally from Sydney, Brandon Lupos, on course with the 360 double truck driver. Look at the height, Ryan, coming out of that vert wall.
Lupos, wow, talking about height as well. They're going for that helicopter, the backflip double tail whip.
So what we're seeing right here, Ryan, is strategy taking place with our new format for 2018. Lupos knows that it's a best run that counts. He wound up messing up on that backflip double tail, which is known as the helicopter, and I think he's going to wind up sitting that out. Now, the challenge with that is if you don't get a high score on your first run, the pressure and chips will definitely be stacked. I know Lupos is definitely a core rider, and he puts a lot of pressure on himself to really deliver. Coming into the contest, he's sitting in that top spot. So I know he wants a great run. If anyone can do it, it's definitely Lupos, as he proved that to be in Hiroshima.
Next rider up has really made his presence known the last couple of years. We have both said numerous times on these broadcasts that we feel Marin has come to his own ability and showing us what he's really all about. Marin Rantis going to start his first run.
Yo, firing back right there. Backflip, double tail whip, 2 times around with the back end. There is that centerpiece, double-sided volcano that Rantish is able to get a lot of speed. Boom! Look at the rotations, not only with the tail whips, but also with the handlebars around. We talked about Rantish in 2017 finding his own voice on his BMX bike, and we could hear him loud and clear as he is charging in Montpellier with a 720 tail whip.
Yes, Marin, that's the riding that we were looking for out of you for this run here. Coming to get a 360 double tail whip down the spine. He's really pulling all these massive combinations.
So what we're seeing here, Ryan, is Marin saying, you know what, the weather might be a factor for tomorrow. I am not going to leave anything to chance. I'm going to throw down all my big tricks. This could be a crucial moment, and he's going to wave it up to the fans. Wow, so Rantish exploding out onto the course, throwing down the hammers. Let's take a look at the madness with that backflip going around with the back end. That spine is enormous. Here you go over the box jump, wrapping that back end around, finding the pedals, 360 with the handlebars 2 times around, and there's a look at the 720 tail whip. Such a wild looking trick. There's the backflip double tail whip, and Rantish here with a double tail whip on our elevated portion of the course. Now, one thing that might set our riders apart from the other out here is the fact that it is up to 60 seconds. The fact that this is a UCI sanctioned event, the UCI is the sanctioning body as we move towards the Olympics with BMX Freestyle in 2020. They expect the utmost from our riders, and Marin Rantish delivers that with an 88 flat. Talk about a big score coming in. putting almost 8 points between him, Kevin Peraza, and Paul Tolan sitting strong at the 63.20.
This is really where you see that the riders are coming out and knowing that it could be the final chance for the overall as well as for all that prize money, because if they do get the rain, that's really what's in their head here. You see a lot of solid athletes coming up, and in the first heat already an 88. I can't wait to see what's going to happen next.
Yes, Ryan, we actually have had that happen in 2016, I believe. We had our finals were rained out, and I believe that year Alex Colborn wound up taking the win with his top qualifying place. So our riders have experienced this before in Montpellier, and it looks like no one is taking the chance because the forecast is calling for that rain. We see a cannonball, great bar spin transfer into the bowl section. Tolan, 1 foot table with that seat grab in the mix.
Tolan is a very young rider coming from Germany, but has this very old classic, let's say classic BMX dirt influence in his riding style. Really reminds me of watching Mike Aiken shred trails.
Now, what you mean as far as a dirt influence goes to maybe some of our new viewers out there, the fact that you can see his bike is set up where he doesn't have pegs on his bike. There are no brakes on there as well, so he focuses a lot more on speed and fluidity, which you actually have to have when you're riding dirt jumps. You need to be very smooth and in control to progress through the sections, and we're seeing Paul Tolan progress through his 60 seconds with another clean run. This time he did not have the crash at the end, but there was a few differences in some of his tricks in his second run. It's going to be interesting to see how that yin for yang will balance out with the judges, and we'll be able to see a little bit more of what they're looking for. So if they wind up having that crash, maybe at this contest in 2018, as we are going towards the Olympics, if a rider does put their foot down or does fall within that amount of time, they could be penalized heavily. So we're going to wait for our score as Kevin Peraza is in staging, getting ready to go. But look at the crowd that has just been flooding into the Les River out there. Scores coming in a 76.20. So you can see a substantial increase, almost 13 points for Paul Tolan. So that's what we're seeing. I had a chance to talk with one of our judges, Van Homan, and he was saying because this is a UCI sanctioned event, we're looking for perfection out here. If a rider winds up putting his foot down or messing up in that 60-second allotted time, they are going to be penalized heavily. And we actually did witness that firsthand with Paul Tolan.
You hear the crowd erupt out there in Montpellier on the riverbanks. Kevin Peraza, that style. Oh my word. Oh, and just sliding off on that Superman seat grab Indian Air over the hip, but holding his composure together. Look at that lunge. Whoa. Oh. I hope he's going to be okay. He definitely winded himself on that one, knocked it all out, but looks from there that physically he is going to be okay. Not going to make any assumptions just yet, but that was a very hard kick. Yes, hands up, Kevin Peraza, you tough man. That was really tough. You saw him not having the exact speed that maybe he needed for that lawn dart. And that's where you see the girth of these box jumps there is so large. If something goes wrong like that case, you catapult yourself basically from a second-story building.
So we're taking a look, 360 one-handed tabletop. His bike completely inverted upside down. There is the Superman seat grab. You see him slip the pedals. He potentially didn't have enough momentum, wound up coming up short. Oh, going down tremendously hard right there. Kevin up to his feet. You can see one of our head medics, Trish Bear, helping him out. Kevin's mom is out there as well. He's got the family support and definitely the love from the crowd as well. So unfortunately, Kevin is not going to be able to get a high score in his second run. His first is going to stick, which I believe was an 80.80. Wow, that is the one thing that, there's many things to love here in Montpellier, but the thing that really stands out, the love and support from all of our fans that are really here to just back our athletes. And one rider that definitely needs to have that back and support is our Australian rider. He wound up calling off his first run after a backflip double tail whip where he didn't get the landing that he wanted. So right now, the chips are definitely stacked against Brandon Lupos, who is our current points leader, who got a first-place finish in Hiroshima. Lupo smooth on that 360 double bar spin. Let's see if he can get the redemption.
There we go. That's what we're looking for. Backflip double tail, catches it perfect to pedals and into a huge transfer over that hip, double tail whip, and a triple tail whip going down the step down right there.
This is the run Lupos has been looking for in his first go. I love the way, Ryan, he transferred across the entire course, and now he seems to be transferring back in the other direction, basically doing a big X if you were looking from a bird's eye with a cash roll.
Did he cash roll backwards on the box?
Wow, he went to go for the cash roll over the island. You can see right now, Brandon Lupos, his handlebars wound up moving. That is very disappointing right there. You can just see the frustration on Brandon's face. He's definitely a rider and a competitor who puts all on the line and rides with his heart. Let's look at that backflip double tail whip coming around.
Super clean rotation right there from Lupos, and you see he had all the course lined up. Beautiful transitions, utilizing every single feature. There's that 540 flare, huge technical trick in the middle, and going for that cash roll.
Oh, you see, he actually landed, but his handlebars moved.
Yeah, his bars snapped back on landing. Unfortunately, couldn't hold on after that one. Super disappointing right there.
So it looks like Lupos' highest score is going to be a 48. Traditionally, a 48 is not enough to make it into the finals, but we don't know what's going to happen because we got 24 riders and we are taking 12. The fate is still to be determined. And right now, your current points leader with an 88, Marin Rantish on course.
Marin Rantish definitely delivering in that first run.
Here we go.
Triple tail whip 360 right there. Whoa! Oh! Slamming into the wall. The kid is super tough though, bounces right back up, but that was from a 360 double bar spin to tail whip. Going for quadruple combination spin tricks, one after each other.
Wow. See, I thought he was going to throw something enormous over that step because if we take a look at the way he landed over that first box jump, he was able to go the distance and catch the transition so smooth that he had enough speed. He even threw a pedal in to get the boost over that second box. Now look at the landing I'm talking about. Perfect landing through the pedal in to try to get that additional speed. Unfortunately, didn't get his feet in, wound up shoulder checking onto the side of the ramp. And right now you can see right there he's getting a little bit of support from fellow riders. That is Kyle Baldock and I believe Daniel Wiedemeyer.
Exactly, but I just want to touch how perfect was that 360 triple tail up on the box.
Yeah, I mean that was really perfect execution onto the landing. And you can see from our bird's eye view right here that honor box jump can set you up perfectly for a SFR step up or the Black & Decker step. You have either direction. And right here, Paul Thulin transfers onto one, and you see he takes the SFR step up. Here is Kevin Peraza's Superman seat grab.
That one.
Perfect extension.
Peraza really holding to his own style in these contests, not going for, the largest triple, quadruple combination, but deciding to go, let's do double combinations, but then put his own twist on it. And I love that type of riding.
Yeah, Kevin Peraza's out here. He's doing it for Mongoose. I had a chance to have dinner with his team manager, Lee Ramsdale, who's just so proud of Kevin. And it's unfortunate that he did have that crash, but I'm very happy to see that he was able to walk away. And the rider who did walk away with the highest score of that heat is right what we saw, Marin Rantish. Here's a look at Kevin Peraza. Beautiful 360 one-hander with that tabletop. So it's going to be a very interesting... there's that crash again.
Super hard.
It's going to be very interesting to see how the scores wind up playing, Ryan, with the judges. It really looks like after this first heat that they are going to be deducting tremendous points if a rider messes up in that 60 seconds.
Exactly.
If they put a foot down... We saw with Paul Thulin, even though he had a solid first run, he crashed at the end of his run. They wound up deducting a lot of points. He actually had for his first run a 63.20, and his second run, which was still great, but he did not have that crash. He was rewarded a 76.2. So you can see the big difference in score right there. You know, and like I said, I had a chance to talk with street legend Van Holman, and he told me he really wants to see the riders bring their A game at 60 seconds, but it could really play with strategy. We saw that Brandon Lupos wound up saying, hey, I want to get that perfection. He actually didn't take his first run when the chips were stacked. He wound up having the problems out there. So we're getting ready for heat number 2. You can see the names. Kenneth Tancre, Nakamura Rim, Justin Dowell, and Kyle Baldock are going to be your 4 next gladiators. Kenneth Tancre in staging right now. You can see he is getting ready as our on-site MC Catfish is getting ready to get the party started here in our semifinal for heat number 2. Kenneth Tancre rolling in. Yeah, big 360 double tail whip. You did see right, that was over that extended pyramid that we have, meaning that both takeoff and landing are identical and they are both very steep. It is more challenging to land in a steeper transition because you've got to be a lot more precise.
Kenneth Tancre holding down that backflip tail whip, pardon me, right there. Going into the box. Nice Superman C grab, Indian air.
I love this course, Ryan. So many different transitions and transfers are out there. So Tancre, we saw, came up short. Now let's see if he can wind up regaining his composure. You know, we do have the 60 seconds. There's a lot of features out here. Big wall ride going coast to coast. The judges want to see a rider not get lost. And what I mean by that is if they have a game plan and they're confidently sticking to it through that entire 60 seconds. Now, you could technically change what your thoughts were from the beginning of where you were going to go and improvise. But if you look lost out there, you don't have that confidence level, and you're not smashing it with that exclamation point at the end, that can be seen. That's something that definitely will not score as high when a rider is just so confident and stomp their last trick, similar to how that backflip tail whip was so smooth and beautiful. So there we see not enough distance to go over the box jump, hanging up a little bit as we wait for Tancre with the score to beat an 88 set by Marin Rantish in his first run.
And that's going to be a very difficult one to beat right now. We saw how many combinations he was putting in it, but a 77.8 is good enough right now for third place. A solid score for Kenneth.
I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with that high score, considering that he wound up coming short over the box and his feet came off. So you could see the Japanese flag right there, and that means that our Red Bull rider getting ready to roll on in is none other than Nakamura Rim. The Japanese sensation charging onto the course.
We had seen up in the crowd, I believe right there, Minato, who is our first place women's champion in the BMX park, cheering on her fellow countrymen. Yes, going for a bar spin to tuck no hander right there. Solid extension on that trick and coming back into the box jump with Rim coming back here into that 360 1-foot can.
Yeah, big no-footed can-can. Rim riding for Sabrosa. Wall ride to bar spin. I know that all the boys down in Orlando, Ronnie Bonner, Ryan Scher right now are cheering on the Japanese rider as he puts in a solid run with that tail whip right there. Yeah, getting the high five. Again, you can see that rider camaraderie out there. As much as this is a fierce competition, all of our riders know that you're also competing against yourself out there. 360 triple bar spin, 1, 2, 3 times around, setting up for that look back. 360 downside tail up into a bar spin. It's so cool that we have the ability to look at this slow motion, so much going on. Alistair Witten was one of the first riders to do that 360 downside tail whip. I remember there was a sequence in Ride magazine, him over the box jump in lot 8, and now we're seeing Rim throw that bar spin afterwards. Very, very cool, as it looks like his score came in with an 82.40, so he is going to be sitting in that second place. But Ryan, since every heat is battling it out with each other, that means we're not going to know who the top 12 are going to be until we wind up progressing through all of our riders, whether you're in the first heat or the last heat. Well, right now in heat number 2, our third rider to take the course, you see the USA plastered across his chest and on his sleeve. That is because he calls Virginia Beach home. This is none other than the young rider of Justin Dowell.
360 triple bar spin into a beautiful look back on that hip. Bar spin to toboggan. Love how he didn't even catch with that right hand and went right into the seat.
Dowell has been having a signature trick known as the Twix 360 bar spin, bar spin, bar spin, and there is the Twix. That is the tail whip with the bar spin. Now, he was not the first rider to invent that trick. We've actually seen Daniel Sandoval do that before in competition. It's just a very difficult trick, and a lot of riders do not have that consistent to throw down in a contest.
I could never ever do a trick like that. That's so incredible because it will make a difference in which area you let go. The bike will go in its own centrifugal forces and pull it with physics another way, and I just can't believe that he can actually do that trick so consistently.
Yeah, I mean, he's got those bar spins so much on lock. You can see not only does he do the triples, but he also can throw them there and throw them back. So the way that he does that, he bus drives it around a little bit where you do have some control on the handlebars. We're seeing Dowell at the 38.60, so similar to Lupos, he's going to have the cards stacked against him for his second run. Well, our next rider up, he is the Australian sensation, multiple X Games gold medalist, and he is also a very fierce competitor who is hyper-focused on BMX. You know him. The crowd here in Montpellier loves him. This is Kyle Baldock.
Like you were saying, a sensation from Australia. Kyle Baldock, 720 tail whip. Does a 360 whip and then just corks another 360 rotation around there. This is why he is a king in BMX.
Ryan, I can't believe he pulled that over the step up, and that was another big hit right there. Backflip tail whip with the bar spin into that 540 flare. Wow, Baldock is not resting at all in this semifinal. He is throwing out the haymakers and trying to make every contact with his competitor that he can. Big backflip over the step up. Flare bar spin on her quarter pipe. No hander over the Black & Decker step down. Baldock now, he's got crucial seconds ticking away. 15. Let's see if he can keep the momentum as he flare transfers. Baldock's going to look to really put a big exclamation point as he has 8 seconds to go.
Utilizing so much of this course and keeping it going all the way to an opposite right there at the very last second. Unfortunately, not holding on. It's going to hinder his score a little bit. He knows that. You can see a little bit of disappointment in his face. But man, was that ever a run. It was only his first one.
Let's look at this highlight. 720 tail whip. That spine is about a 6 foot into a 12-foot landing. You are only traveling about 1 foot on top of the deck. So much rotation going on, and Baldock's able to focus on that landing similar as he did on that flare. Here is a look at the backflip tail whip into a bar spin. And then Baldock, unfortunately, at the end of his run, had the crash. There you could see the little bit of disappointment in his face, which after you throw down a solid run like that, it definitely can be disappointing when you fumble. Let's see if the judges wind up deducting from his score, similar that we saw with Paul Thulin in his first run, where he had that crash with a few seconds left to go.
You know, that's a really difficult one as well for the judges. That was a flawless run right until the very last error, which was in the last second. I do not know how I would deal with that if I was a judge.
Now, if this was a normal semi without the weather being a potential issue for tomorrow, you might have just seen Kyle at the end there maybe do one trick instead of those 2 flares back to back. He might have gone with a simpler trick that he had a little more confidence in within the 60 seconds. Oh, look at that. 7-7 flat. So you are seeing if a rider falls completely, they are being heavily deducted right there. We also saw Kenneth Tancre in his first run get a 7-7. Even though he didn't fall completely off his bike, he did mess up on that backflip Superman over the box jump. His points came down, but it looks like if a rider slips a pedal, they are deducted, but tremendous points come off if they wind up falling off their bike.
Oh, and that's really an upset, but as well you could see Baldock already knew that he was going to get those deductions. He's going to have to pull it together, but a champion he is, and let's see if he is able to do it under pressure. Kenneth Tonkre, however, dropping in right now for his run. I believe that was a bar spin to toboggan. To a beautiful 360 double tail whip over that island.
So Tonkre right here trying to ollie oop. That is when a rider floats backwards in that spin, utilizing the bowl into a double tail whip. You can see Tonkre putting a pedal down to get into her elevated section of the course. What's it gonna be? Yes! Backflip tail whip Tonkre. So now we can see he expended a lot of energy to pedal in his run, where he wasn't necessarily utilizing the big transitions to keep his speed. That means he might be potentially winded, and it looks like that might have been the case right there of why he wound up waving it off. So endurance is a big thing with the 60 seconds. It might not seem like a long time, but you are going maximum pull. The body, the amount of energy that's burned, and you're going through your ATP out there. You don't have enough time to wind up regenerating all that energy. So if a rider's not utilizing these big transitions, keeping their breathing calm, control, collected, you wind up really burning through. And then when you have to pull into those reserves to do these big tricks where you're essentially risking life and limb out there to wind up pulling the tricks, you wind up sometimes waving it off. So it looks like Tonkre is going to do that. His first run is going to stick with a 77.80. He's still going to be sitting in 4th place, considering that we have 8 riders that we've gone through. It's not so bad, but we still have a lot more to go, and he could potentially get moved down the list.
And we're going back to Japan. We started our tour off in Hiroshima, found this guy here. This is Rim Nakamura right there on course, about to get ready to drop in for his 2nd run.
And as you said, that was Minato Oiki up there holding up the Japanese flag, cheering on Rim as he did a great combination. That was 2 different style no-handers in one air.
Beautiful right there, 360 double tail up into a 360 tail with the bar spin on the step up. Nice flare.
You can see Rim is in the zone as he does a Superman across our extended pyramid, going up out of the vert wall, setting up. Whoa, 360 triple bar spin, I believe.
Yeah, Rim really holding on to those combinations. Great to see him utilizing other features of the course here. The Japanese athletes are coming out in swarms for the feast this year.
Yeah, it was great to see in Hiroshima, Rim getting the support from his fellow countrymen. No-hander on the hip. Let's see, we saw a couple riders in these final moments wind up pulling that Baba Booey, as we like to call, but Rim is going to play it safe, and he's going to wave it off. So Rim Nakamura, the Red Bull rider, putting down a big when it counts. Again, doing it for Sabrosa. As Ron Bonner is cheering on that 360 double tail whip. Yeah, great combination. You can see instead of doing a double tail whip, he threw the bar spin, and there you go, 3 times around. Hot hands, hot grips, and hot bars on that triple bar spin at 360. Rim up here, blasting the bar spin. You can see he pumps the air, setting up for that step up, through a pedal in. Big smile from the Japanese rider, looking to wind up on the top of the leaderboard, similar to Minato Oiki, our women's champion, at our stop number 2.
And talking about the top of the leaderboard is one of our first riders of the day, Marin Rantis, a Red Bull rider from Croatia. But Rim getting a solid score in there, an 82.4. Not good enough to bump out Marin from first place with that 88 score, but solid one nonetheless.
Well, looking to work some magic out here, the Virginia Beach rider from the United States, doing it for USA Cycling. This is one of our younger competitors at 18 years old. This is Justin Dowell. Dowell bar spin to toboggan. Now the cards are stacked against Dowell as well. He had a 38.6 in his first run. He is currently sitting in last place. He knows he's going to need a big run. But yes, there's that Twix. But the question is, Ryan, how much do you risk out there? If he winds up potentially going for bigger tricks, the difficulty is up, and the probability that you could potentially crash might be higher. So Dowell's got to wind up walking that fine line of saying, do I put it all on the line, or do I wind up trying to balance things out and put down a solid score to at least get myself somewhere on the board.
Yeah, it seems like he's pulling a solid one together here. Like you said, that's a very high difficulty trick. I believe that right there was a flare turn down. Crazy corked out combination. Going for a 1-foot can. Missing a couple tricks there towards the end of his score. Hand plant on the whippet wall. Dowell finishing it off. We're going to have to wait and see what the judges feel on this one. Some replays, some of the highlights right there. Look at that's the Twix, the 3-6 or the tail whip bar spin combination at the same time. Yeah, and there's that flare turn down. Great looking trick.
So you can see the perspective, the bird's eye from the judges looking down on the course as we've got our stands packed. Up top, you can see our VIP section bleachers. A lot of our fellow other riders are out in the house watching, cheering on. We've got a lot of our pro flatland athletes, and we also have a street competition that's going on out here. I know that we have Corey Martinez in the house, who's going to be riding a little bit later as he sees the score coming in for Dowell. All right, an 82. So it's going to sit Dowell in that third place spot. A score in the 80s, not too shabby at all. But again, we have 24 athletes that still have to compete. And our next rider wound up having that disappointing crash at his first run. After almost a flawless run, he had that crash at the end, just tripping at the finish line, as they say. Looking to up the ante from his 77, and the crowd has his support. And at home, we want to hear you, so throw on that hashtag Feast World or Feast Montpellier as you cheer on Kyle Baldock for that 720 tail whip.
Okay, and let's see if he can hold the composure through. He held it all the way to the very end, and just a little mix-up. Kyle Baldock, one of the living legends of BMX, backflip double tail whip there, changing up his runs. Oh no! Oh, Kyle Baldock, unfortunate. He knows that's a huge upset. It is not for sure that we are not doing the finals tomorrow, but that is definitely what is in his head right now. He was wanting to get a finals run off in case that there is a weather delay.
Wow, that is so disappointing. Let's look at this 720 tail whip. The fact that he's 2 for 2, you see his body is so pinned out to get that spin coming around, much like a ice skater you'd see going vertically to put their body to wind up spinning around. Baldock has that, and right there his feet just slip off the pedals. That is so disappointing. But one thing that I want to note, Ryan, as we wind up working through our second heat and we're looking at our scores, if you look from 5th to 8th, all of our riders wound up having either a crash or slipping a pedal. Now, the fact that we've changed up our format, instead of being a overall of 2 runs averaged together, we're going for a best run counts. Personally, I really enjoy that because what you get to see is a little more excitement for some of the riders if they wind up putting down their first run and it's solid. Maybe they want to try some stuff in their second run, and if they mess up, that's okay because they already got that first run score in. But I think what might be going on with some of our athletes out here, the fact that they all know weather could potentially be raining tomorrow. You could feel the moisture in the air right now as there's a cold wind blowing in, that they're really putting it all on the line, and they're torn between that semi and the final and saying, hey, do I put all the chips on the table or do I play it safe? Now, obviously, this 24 of the best riders in the world, you're not really playing it safe any way that you want to shake it. This would be at a local contest, first place times 1,000. But when you have this many riders out there and what they're actually capable of, you wind up seeing what's going to be that balance point, risk versus reward, lower score versus higher score. So we're looking still at some of the highlights. There is the backflip tail whip from Kenneth Tancred. There's the toboggan over the hip floating in, rim with the 360 double tail whip. And there's the tail whip to bar spin. Cool combination. You can see how the tricks were semi-similar, but the difference being instead of putting that second tail whip in, he wound up throwing the handlebars around.
Just getting some tweets in from a couple of our friends and onlookers out there in social media. DC, one of our hosts, actually, co-hosts out here, at the FIS, and as well action sports enthusiast himself, saying that he's watching over at his hotel room in bed. He finished up his shows this weekend, getting a bit of a recovery from his jet lag. But if you guys want to stay involved and tweet us out, make sure you guys follow us on social media. First, go to FIS.official on Facebook, as well FIS World on Instagram and Twitter. So while you can get our respective handles, mine personally is Late Night Rai Rai, and Daryl's, I believe, is Daryl Now, DARRYLNAU.
That is correct. You nailed the spelling. Much appreciated. So again, it's just at Daryl Now. If you guys want to send a message through on Instagram, we will be giving you shout outs. We also want to know who you think will be finishing in the top the top 12 of these 24 riders. We're looking at our next heat of riders who are going to be going. It is Joel Bondu, Alex Colborn, Eric Reisev, and Andrea Luis de Souza. But right now, Joel Bondu, the Canadian, getting psyched up there. Joel's been spending a lot of time riding with Cirque du Soleil, so he's been really putting on these shows with the circus. Woo. And when a rider winds up doing shows on a daily, that means that they wind up being so dialed with the tricks where they could just do them on command.
Wow, there you go, 360 windshield wiper. This guy has some amplitude that we were looking for in this contest. He is a large rider, but man, can he answer back with the height on these jumps.
Joel right there hanging up a little bit. Let's see, that could wind up losing your momentum. Is he able to recover? We talked about that being an energy zonker, but Joel definitely lives a very healthy lifestyle along with his girlfriend. It's disappointing. So Joel just having a little bit of that hang up right there. You can see he's a little bit winded.
So Joel Bondu is gonna...
There is that double tail whip and turning into a triple one time around. So Ryan, you know, the thing that's interesting, a lot of our riders, seeing how it's that best run counts format, it almost seems like a lot of them are their head to wind up saying, let me pull off, let me stop going.
Yeah.
The one thing that they all do know, though, if there's a potential tie, your second run could definitely play a factor there. A lot of times we do have ties, and it's going with your second run score and can play an important part. I have a feeling once we wind up settling into this new format, we're going to see potentially at future stops a lot of riders still just continue to give it their all until that 60 seconds is up, even if it's not the run they potentially wanted to. So Joel Bondu having a little bit of difficulty. But our next rider who is going to be on deck as we are waiting for our score to come in for the Canadian. We're just taking a look at Joel's smiling mug right there. Looks like he's got a potential mustache in the works. Might be day 1 or 2 right there, kind of sprouting up as he is waiting for his score to sprout up here. Again, we got our 5 judges. Van Homen from France. We've got Bibi, the trails legend, Romulad Noro. The Croatian judge of Igor Vukadinovic. From the UK, we have Dave Cleworth, a.k.a. Hank. And from Slovenia, we have Luka Kovic. But going back to our first judge I mentioned from the United States, the street legend, Van Homen. Van Homen was a pioneer of BMX going all the way back to the 90s. He and I actually had the opportunity to grow up together riding BMX, and I remember in 2000 he came here to FIS and was a FIS champion back in 2000. So Van definitely has what it takes, not only riding the street but also in a park environment. So he is given the Midas touch for that score, but a rider looking to give his all and pour it on. No stranger at all to FIS, especially out here in Montpellier. He was our 3rd place finisher overall for the 2017 series. He does have what it takes to win in that first place spot too. He's done it here in Montpellier before. This is Alex Colborn.
Colborn going with the cobalt blue pants today. Huge transfer onto that UCI wall. 360 triple tail whip. Not holding onto the pedals. That's going to be a and a wave off for Alex Colborn. He knows that he's going to have to pull something solid to get up on that box where he wants to belong.
Wow, we are really seeing a trend going on here where the riders are just pulling off. Now, I just want to highlight so much of riding is mental, and you got to be in the right state of mind. When you're out there, if you're not feeling it, it's easy to pull off. We're not saying, hey, get in the ring, stay in the ring, do something that you're not comfortable with, but we've seen in the past a lot of riders wind up dogging it out, even if they do case or something goes on. When it was that best run, or excuse me, when it was the overall impression, riders knew that that wasn't an option. So maybe instead of pulling off, if they slipped a pedal, they would have stayed in the ring. So that's where we're seeing the different format. But, you know, for Brandon Lupos, that necessarily didn't work out. So it's going to be interesting to see where maybe even a rider who's in the 70s or 60s might even qualify and progress with this format. That's what's exciting right now. The UCI and FIS work on making the best format possible, changing things up as we go. And right now, a rider who's looking to bring the heat is our Russian. This is Irek Raizev.
Irek Raizev definitely as well, pulling super fast on that one. Remember, don't pull too quick and get too excited there.
In 2017 overall, Irek Raizev finished 7th place. Big tabletop. Raizev is such a ripper.
Irek Raizev right there, 440, let's say. Tuck no hander coming back into the box jump. 360 double tail up to bar spin into a 360 downside tail up on the spine, gapping over and actually doing the wall ride on our quarter to wall to quarter.
Double tail whip backwards over the box. That was enormous. Irek's best finish last year was in Budapest, where he got podium in a 3rd place. But he is riding like a Russian possessed as he does a no-hander. And the final thought coming in.
That's going to do it. He's going to wave that one off towards the end. We have heard many times before UCI officials and our judges saying that they want to see a run nailed all the way to the buzzer. They want to see that there is that time in place.
But we have seen the risk reward, Ryan. If a rider winds up putting it all down, maybe tries to squeeze a trick in last second.
Kyle Baldock.
Yeah, I mean, you could crash, and that's heartbreaking, right? You just use Kyle as the reference. Or you could wind up slipping a pedal or falling off, which is going to hurt your score as well. So it's that balance point, you know? It's that risk reward. As you can see, our judges are trying to make sense of all the tricks put in. And Irek is hoping that his magic potion of his first run is going to be higher than that 88 that's set by the Croatian.
Look right now on our crane view of the camera out there in the Montpellier crowd. They're lined up out there on the riverbank watching the athletes compete on this beautiful course sculpted by Hurricane Parks. And Irek Raizev getting a score in there, an 85.7. He's happy with that one, I believe. There are a few more things that I know he is able to put into that run. So let's see how it unfolds as we move down to a Brazilian rider out here at the FIS.
Yeah, this is a new name that we're seeing in the FIS series, but no stranger at all to BMX. Andre Luis de Souza. He right now is representing Brazil. He is doing it for the Brazilian team. He actually has his team coach out here, Diogo Canina, cheering on that 720. That is a great start. Diogo is a legend in the BMX scene down in Brazil and worldwide. He's also a competitor himself, but he does have the veteran experience, giving onto his athletes like Andre with that 360 double tail up coming around. Yes! Quick little foot jam, looking for the tech trick, transferring off. Where's he going, Ryan? Backflip, drop in.
Big moves coming out of the Brazilian right there. Mid-run, going for a backflip drop in. Like seeing that style.
Great use of that pocket wall ride into the double tail whip. Let's see. Now this is going to be crucial. The judges want to know that he's not lost down there. That's going to take a lot of energy, and he somehow pulls it off with that front flip.
Oh, and into a flare on the quarter pipe at that honor wall.
Wow. So what we're seeing here for the Brazilian, that was a full run. Now, it looked like he maybe slowed down a little bit and didn't have full momentum to the buzzer, but I got to tell you, from my perspective and my own opinion, he rode very confidently. he actually wasn't lost at all because he was able to get his pedal, his speed, pull over that box jump trick, and set up enough for that flare. Now, if he was riding around slow and his speed wasn't as fast as maybe it could have been as in the beginning of the run, and he didn't have the tricks to match, he might have seemed a little bit discombobulated and lost. But he was able to get that front flip, which is a hard trick. He did slip a pedal, but he had his whereabouts with him. He was able to come in. He had that big backflip drop in halfway through the course. We sometimes see riders start their run off with the backflip drop in, but to do it halfway through the run is challenging.
Whoa.
I think we're going to see a big score here, but it's going to be interesting how that speed is going to be a factor. And it winds up actually being a 79.60. So maybe the judges saw it as, hey, the second half of the run, he didn't have that pizzazz, that fancy footwork with the speed in the ring. But I definitely think that was a big run from the Brazilian. I'm psyched he's here, and I can't wait to see his second run.
Joel Bondu, the Canadian, ready to drop in for his second run right on top of the course out here. You see in the background the audience of the UCI BMX Freestyle Park course. That's what brings in out here at the FIS over 115,000 spectators daily. Joel Bondu dropping into the 360 downside tail whip. Wow, triple tail whip, I believe that was on the hip feature. 360 tuck no-hander over the box. Very solid composure as he comes into all these jumps. Getting a nice flare bar spin there. Slight bit of a hang up again over that island box jump feature.
Yeah, there you go, 360 unlook back. So it's going to see the big feature and a key component if Joel Bondu can keep up his endurance out here. I talked about Joel being a focused athlete living a healthy lifestyle along with his girlfriend. Recently, he was out with a fellow BMX rider out in New Jersey who's also into fitness, Blake 201, who was given some pointers maybe for Joel, and right there throwing down that front flip. So Joel getting a solid run for his second attempt out on the course. To just rewind it back to his first run, it was a 46.8. That was because he was not able to complete the entire first run. This time he did with style, big no-hander flying at the friendly skies of France, setting up for that triple tail whip. You can see he puts his weight over the handlebars to get that full commitment. 360 unlook down, and there you go, a big front flip fly out. Quite the showman right there, waving to the crowd. He could definitely impress the fans, but that is not the 5 people you need to impress. It is the 10 eyeballs of our judges. You and I can give our own personal opinions, but the ones that matter: Van Homan, Romilad Noro, Igor Vukadinovic, Dave Cleworth, and Luka Kovic. Those are the brains to impress. You can see it goes down in our rider area. We got Dustin Orman down there. I'm seeing a lot of other BMXers who are in the house. So look at that, a 71.80. Unfortunately, that score is not going to be a big one for Joel Bondu. He's sitting in 10th, but as we still have 12 riders yet to take the course, and they are our top qualified riders, it's going to get harder and harder to progress through the pack.
You hear Catfish, our on-site MC, getting the crowd stoked up. The Cobalt Pants Colborn. Cork flip right there with the bar spin. Colborn, look at that transfer, the only one so far on course, and into that. And really trying to hold on, answering back. Marin Rantis as well to that 360 triple tail whip. Colborn still holding on though. The Bulldog, and then into a foot jam on top of the highest sub box out there.
Colborn, we are seeing some big tricks that he is known for. Again, he finished in first place in 2016 in Montpellier, looking to do the same on stop number 2 as Colborn is rotating around. Coming down a little bit short, but Colborn is definitely known to put on a tech demo with tricks at the end of his run, and he is set up and positioned perfectly to potentially do so here. Bar spin to foot jam with 6 seconds to go. Bar spin to ice pick to 270. What does Colborn have at the end? Buzzer, bar spin, foot jam. Big run for Colborn. We are seeing the total BMX rider potentially deliver the total package out there as Colborn put down a big run. Let's look at some of the highlights. Bar spin from the island into the vert wall. You see him put down the pedals to set up for that rotation right there. Winds up slipping his pedals a little bit, but this was the centerpiece on the highest feature of the course. That is not a sub box, that is an enormous wall ride. He goes up with that foot jam, finding the balance point with his foot on top, winds up coming in. First rider we see utilize that enormously tall feature for Colborn. As we said, in 2017, Colborn finished third overall. This is a points race, so as much as we are talking about the positions here today, it's going to be all of our 5 stops accumulated throughout the year as our riders wind up trying to rack up the highest number. So right now you can see on course as the scores are waiting to come in, our UCI flags are blowing a little bit in the wind. That means that we do feel a little bit of a cool breeze coming out here. You could almost feel the temperature dropping and moisture building in the air. The sun is not as exposed as it was yesterday. There's definitely a lot of cloud coverage out there. Our fingers are crossed that we'll be able to get through our entire 24 athletes out here. And again, if we do unfortunately get rain for tomorrow, we are going to go with our semifinal scores. But there is a look at the UK rider, the Bulldog as he is known, Alex Colborn. As you can see, our 5 judges contemplating. I think that's Van Homan biting the nails up there as he's writing down a score. Trying to think, what is it going to be? You can actually see on the right-hand side of your screen, that was Hank Cleworth. An 81.40. So Colborn is going to sit in that 5th place spot. It's Rantish, Rizev, and Rim 1, 2, and 3, followed by Dowell, Colborn, Peraza, and Luis de Souza in 7th. But looking to get in the ring and take his second pole, looking to up the ante from his 2nd place score, currently with an 85.7. If there's one man that can do it, it is the Russian of Yurik Rizev.
So Rizev right here, going for a big combination, backflip, tail whip to tuck no hander. Wow, great amplitude out of these quarter pipes, huge into a triple tail whip. Taking a different look at this course than most others.
And one thing to note is that wind. You can see the flags starting to flap at a higher rate out there. That means that it is picking up, and that could throw a rider potentially off course when they fly over these box jumps or blast over the quarter pipes. But Rizev out here seeming like he's very comfortable as he goes over the Black & Decker box jump with the double tail whip on the step down. Where is he going? High speed action. 10 seconds to go for Rizev. Double tail whip flying into our elevated portion.
Coming into the honor quarter pipe right there. A couple seconds left, and that's going to do it. He knows he doesn't get anything in after the buzzer. Yurik Rizev steps it out there. Currently sitting right now in 2nd place. Let's see if that is going to be an improvement. You can see he's definitely winded after that solid run that he just put forth. Take a look at some highlights right here. 360 tail whip to tuck no hander. 1, 2 tail whips on that step down feature. A lot of athletes are just doing little tricks like a tuck no hander on that one in specific. So these are points where the judges are really going to have to watch and say, okay, this is going to make or break that couple point improvement that he needs. Right now, waiting to see the scores come in, and it's not going to be good enough, but still good enough for a little bit of an improvement. 86.3, not good enough to beat out his friend Marin Rantis and fellow teammate out of 1st place there, where he is sitting since heat number 1. Our 4th rider of the day, his first run score 88.0, but we are going right now to Andre, who is going to be doing his 2nd run. You see the scratches on the side of his face at his temple. taking a very hard slam earlier this week.
The Brazilian right now charging down, great 270 over that island. Unfortunately, he hung up a little bit, so his speed was zonked. Let's see if he can do an off-axis 720. So we talked about his first run. Potentially what might have impacted his score was the momentum slowing down, but he winds up throwing that backflip 2 for 2 on that drop-in. But again, you wind up losing all your momentum. It's like pulling the brakes in the middle of your run. There is a wall ride. As you can see now, the velocity is increased. Whoa! And the height of that flare was enormous, Ryan.
That amplitude is something that is going to definitely put his scores up with the judges. And there's that front flip, holding on with the pedal over that Black & Decker step up. Flare on the Honor quarter pipe. 10 seconds left in his run. Can he compose himself to get a few more tricks off?
Tail whip on the quarter pipe, and at the buzzer, throwing down a flare. All right, what up, Brazil? Cheering on right now, André Luiz de Souza. I had an opportunity to be down in South America recently riding with Coco Zurita at Signal Skate Park, and a lot of the Brazilians were out in full effect. Brazil BMX does not mess around. Draco Vive, shout out to one of their fallen riders in Brazil, legendary rider. Everybody down there is cheering on Draco Vive, and right there you can see cheering on that big flare. That was one of the highest we've seen so far of the competition. So as we wait for our scores to come in, you can see the next 4 riders taking the course: Jake Levia, Daniel Sandoval, Cam Peak, and Anthony Jean-Jean. It looks like his first score is going to be the one that sticks of a 7.9.60. So that is where our scores are going to be coming in for our first 12 riders. Our second 12 have yet to go. But we are going to have our riders just taking a moment or two to get the blood flowing as we are looking at this beautiful course. The one thing that might potentially not be as beautiful is the weather. We're looking at our cloudy, our temperature is 18 degrees Celsius. The wind is at 17 kilometers per hour and the humidity at 65. So when the humidity goes up, that is not a good thing, and also with the wind. To just let you know, if you were here, it feels like there's a moisture coming in the air. It doesn't necessarily seem like it's a cloud that's going to wind up dumping down rain on the course, but you could just feel the moisture in the air and it kind of builds. So our fingers are crossed, our toes are crossed, our arms are crossed, that Mother Nature is going to cooperate with us and we will get through the next 12 riders out here.
You see the highlights right there from our heat number 3 action that has been going on. But as well, I just want to take this moment to highlight something out of heat number 4. One of our riders has had a hard crash in his training run and actually injured his hand. So Cam Peak, unfortunately, is not going to be able to compete. He is not going to start in heat number 4. I believe that's going to make it a 3-man heat.
That is very disappointing to hear. I'm just getting wind of this from right now as well, and that's upsetting because Cam is always a fantastic rider to watch. He's a great competitor. He has had his bout of injuries over the last couple of seasons, so hopefully he'll be a minor one and he'll be back at the next contest. But Cam, wishing you the best. You're an awesome rider. We're always psyched you're here cheering on the fellow riders, but I know that's got to be disappointing. A lot of our competitors are very focused on their riding and put their heart into it, so when that happens, especially right before their run, very disappointing. But we're still looking at some of our highlights. There was Eric Reisev, double tail up to no-hander over the spine, kicking the double tail smooth over that step up backwards and then putting on the gas once he landed. Shout out to Brazil and Diogo Canina, who is the coach cheering on André Luiz de Souza.
As we are getting our action going out here in Montpellier, you see this beautiful course. That's something I love so much, is that Hurricane Courses, Hurricane Parks puts together something different for us year after year. It's always one of the most phenomenal courses you've seen in contest history. But a man who has one of the most famous parks on his shirt right there, coming from Tehachapi, California, that's Jake Leva.
So you see the moment he drops in, that 60 seconds started. 360 double downside tail whip, floating halfway down the landing. That landing is 12 feet. It's got a lot of room to give. Accelerating through our curved wall ride, setting up for the double tail whip. Jake flying the skies of Montpellier with that no-handed 360 on our SFR step up straight into an ice pick. Look at the transfer, cutting the corners here. Yes!
Oh, yes, Jake Leva. Solid double tail whip over that island feature. You might notice a few athletes not really getting the greatest tricks off that because it's a very awkward jump to make.
So Jake right here having a little difficulty with the 2 landings in a row. If he can recover with his speed charging across the course, he's burning a lot of energy. And again, we talked about the crucial moments that matter being at the end of the run. Going the distance on that transfer. Very cool. First rider we saw utilize that. And at the buzzer, Smith-Stall, a little bit of a Paul Buchanan influence right there. For all of our old school riders, you know Paul Buchanan riding for Terrible One, old school props ad that Joe Rich edited, put together down in Texas. He did a Smith-Stall on the side of a subwall. People's minds were blown. And Jake Leva right there just put in a little bit of an exclamation point at the end of his run with that tech stall. 360 downside double tail whip. No hander over the hip. There's a look at another tail whip, double time. Wow, kicking that back end around, taking a look again, 3 times around, landed flat. So what we're seeing out here, Ryan, the name of the game seems to be that speed throughout your run, not stepping down and not crashing. But in order to do those elements, it looks like our riders have to really utilize the transitions out here to carry their momentum and not work against the park, work with it so that they're able to keep all of their energy stores high and they're able to then transfer that to the momentum to blast the big tricks. So Jake right now, we are just waiting as a possible score of 100, which would be the top coming in, and Daniel Sandoval is yet to ride. So Jake getting an 83.50, not too shabby, looking very happy with that score, which he should be. So our next rider who is going to be taking the course, he was actually our 5th place overall finisher for 2017. Back in 2015, he finished in 2nd place as well. He is a big favorite here out in Montpellier. This is the Red Bull rider, Daniel Sandoval.
And that is something you have to notice as well, that all athletes are able to start in their specific spot on course. Wow, Sandoval just holding on to that one. That's called the 360 windshield wiper, where he goes regular tail whip into a downside tail whip, but losing a bit of momentum and missing his next trick on that run. Coming back with a double tail whip on that hip.
Last season, Sandoval's best finish was a 3rd in Edmonton. Yo, big front flip right there, putting that 180 in. Very cool to throw down. One of the first riders to do that on a transition quarter pipe. It's known as the lawn dart, Keith McElhaney. We're seeing Sandoval do it on a quarter though with 10 seconds to go. Come on, D. Always a fan of Daniel Sandoval's bike colors. Yeah, tail whip right there. Smooth run and smooth styles for Sandoval. You see him shaking his head a little bit, but that is because he is a past X Games gold medalist, and when you are riding at the top level of your sport, you demand a lot from yourself. So let's look at Sandoval right here. 360 tail whip to downside tail whip.
And that's where he really got hung up, and I was super impressed actually that he was able to come back around. If you would see that angle again, you saw that his front foot got messed up within his steer tube.
Something that's a little bit new to some of our, or I should say something for our newer BMX fans that might not be aware. About 4 or 5 years ago, Sandoval was actually leading the charge with all the box jumping tricks. I remember we put on a contest out in Eindhoven. This is pre-040 ramps, before that park was built. And Sandoval was pushing all the 360 downside tail whips in both directions with tricks into and out of, which are kind of now the staple for a lot of our riders that we see out on the course, which is absolutely mind-blowing. But Sandoval definitely has made his presence known over the last 5 years within BMX. not only with the tricks, but like I said, winning different contests and also top place finishes. So Sandoval getting an 80 right there. He's going to currently sit in 8th place as we are looking at the position. He's currently in 8th with Peraza in 7th and Souza in at 9th.
And when you hear that crowd erupt, you know that there might be a French rider in the house. This one's Jean-Jean, Anthony Jean-Jean to be precise, doing it for Total BMX as well, dropping in for a big transfer into the lip of that honor box jump, shredding around the wall and into a backflip double tail for Jean-Jean. 360 tail to bar spin flare, solid combinations for the young Frenchman. As you can see how an audience is able to get behind an athlete and really push them to the top here. Double downside tail up into a downside tail up the opposite way on the hip. Yeah, 360 tuck no-hander going high above there with a little toadstool.
Oh, Jean-Jean slipping a pedal. We talked about how much a rider can be deducted from it, but it looks like if he can dig deep with the front, front flip to butt plant right there. Hopefully Jean-Jean's okay. He's shaking his head yes. He might just be catching his breath. You can see he's rocking the local bike shop of BMX Avenue, getting a huge round of applause. You can hear all of our honor sticks out there clapping for the local boy, the flying Frenchman, Anthony Jean-Jean. So had a solid run up until the crashes. Backflip, double tail whip. Set it up perfect for that 360 downside tail whip to bar spin. Right into a flare bar spin. Those were 3 solid hits, 1, 2, and 3 in a row. In order to pull off those in succession like that, you've got to be so smooth on your landing and have the confidence to stick the landing where you could pump through and build the speed. So the total rider getting a 62.80, that's going to put him in 14th place. So his run will not be enough for him to progress, but thankfully he will have another swing in the ring, as we say, as we go back up to the top for run number 2 for Jake Levia, who is sitting currently in 3rd place with an 83.5. So we're talking about strategy out of our athletes. It's going to be interesting to see, Ryan, if a rider sticks a top score and if they're sitting close to the top of the pack, are they maybe going to say, you know what, I'm good with that score, I'm just going to stick it out? Or are they going to go, you know what, I want to up the game because if it potentially rains tomorrow, this could be a final score. So I'm going to get in it and I'm going to try to up the ante for those valuable points. And I have a feeling by the look and determination on Jake's face, that is what we are going to see out here.
Now you're seeing a lot of determination from all the athletes out here, something that, I mean, usually a semifinal would be taken a little less serious than this. You can really notice it as we already started heat number 1. Jake Leva coming in. Oh, looking like he was going for a bar spin in that combination as well, but still holding his composure, getting things going here. Nice tuck no-hander.
Jake landed a little low on that wall, but still able to get the backflip tail whip around. There you go, clean cannonball, grabbing the seat, pushing the bike out.
Yeah, Flair stomps that one, clean with the pedals.
Putting the tail whip in that as well. There you go, wall ride the distance, the speed is on. Jake this time cutting that transfer a little bit closer, but great use of the course, the way he transferred directly up into the step up. Jake doing it for Hyper with the 360 tail tap to bar spin. That is a huge cliffhanger to be falling off of while traveling backwards, throwing the bars. Curved wall going in his opposite direction. Jake right now looking to not be lost on the course. You see right there, he winds up shaking his head a little bit. When you talk about a rider being lost, that just means that they don't necessarily have the clear path where they can put a trick down confidently and in control. Doesn't necessarily mean that they have to have their entire run planned out beginning to end, but if they're able to find an obstacle, cleanly execute a trick, and roll away with that confidence, it means that they're completely aware of their surroundings. There was that whip going around. That was somewhere almost a 540 or a flare in between the two. Tail tap 360 with the bar spin. So we talked about Jake's first run being an 83.5. He was sitting in that position after his first run. His second score has not come in yet, but I'm going to think that his first run score is going to be the highest. That does give him a lot of breathing room because, again, we're taking top 12. We still have 8 riders who have yet to ride. But if he's sitting in third, I believe that would unofficially make it that he would qualify in that position. So Jake's score is going to sit a 69.30 is going to be his second score. That 83.5 is going to be the one that sticks. But Sandoval right now sitting in 8th place with an 80.20. He wants to put some distance from that nail-biting position of 12th, which Paul Dolan is currently sitting in. You see right there, his right hand, he's selecting his song on his headphones. I know that we got DJ Mike Rock in the house getting the tunes pumping, but right now Sandoval is going to get lost in his own world.
You said Sandoval years ago, or a couple years ago, was a box jump trick champion, basically. He had all these tricks on lock and one of the first men to be perfecting the downside tail whip like he does right there in a 360 to bar spin downside tail whip.
You see Sandoval looking for the extension on that no-hander, wasn't able to get it fully out, but that was great execution over our big step up. Sandoval smooth as they come around that turn. Snaking through with that double tail whip.
Yes! Double tail whip flare alley-ooped, so he was going from one direction, exited on the other.
Even though that was a 360 with the bar spin, and Sandoval has triple bar spins with tail whips as well, that was so smooth. I like the way he just fell backwards into it. That's kind of what you see with some of our riders who are grandmasters of their sport. Even when they do a basic trick, they can make it look so good. Sandoval, 3, 2, 1. The Red Bull rider throwing it up to the sky. The deuce is right there. He's got an 80.20. Ryan, I don't know if that score is going to up the ante. He did have different tricks in his first run, including that 360 windshield wiper that was kicking it one direction to the other way. The first rider to do that was Alessandro Barbero, called the Italian Job. He did not have that in his second run, but he also did not slip his pedals. So it's going to be that balance point, the sliding scale of risk versus reward. He did have that double tail whip flat spin at 540 flare.
He's checking a nice look out there. As well, you see that kind of coned triple feature. I know, right? Sponsored by Montpellier Mediterranean Metropole on that obstacle. It adds a lot of difficulty, but as well creativity to the athletes' runs. You're able to link up so many different areas with that one feature. Really love how the course builders out here at Hurricane Parks have delivered. Looking right now at the judging criteria, see what we are waiting on currently as Sandoval.
Ryan, a few things you're looking for. Difficulty, one of your favorite words, amplitude, originality and style, variety of tricks, consistency, and control. Now, Ryan, you're a fellow rider as well. I want to know a little bit your perspective on style and how important that is for our riders.
I mean, to me, it's an easy comparison, let's say, between Daniel Dares and... now the scores are coming in an 84.3 for Sandoval, and then moving up into third place right there.
So Sandoval getting a big score, an 84.3. That means he is going to push Jake Levia down to fourth as Anthony Jean-Jean, the French rider, charging the course, bar spin to no-hander.
You know, we're going to get back to my answer about the style just after Jean-Jean goes right here. A solid backflip, double tail whip right there out of the gate. Backflip, flare, bar spin. That's with a 180 in it, but he just slipped the pedal. And we know from previous, the judges are watching that heavily.
The BMX Avenue rider going over the channel with the bar spin. Double tail whip over the handlebars to get that commitment. Throwing a whip coming up. Bar spin back at us over the step up. 360 no-hander. Jean-Jean had that Baba Booey in his first run, a 62.8. So if he could keep it together, throughout these next 12 seconds, there's a very good chance his score is going to increase. Oh! That is disappointing. Unfortunately, 2 strikes for Jean-Jean on that front flip.
He's super disappointed. The crowd out there getting on their feet, making some noise for the one Frenchman we have out here in the finals, making it all the way, and you know he is disappointed to let himself down in front of that crowd.
But you know what? The fans out here bringing his spirits back up as we look at the backflip, double tail whip coming around. There's the downside 360 tail whip. This is all from Anthony Jean-Jean that we just saw have the difficulty on that front flip. But you could tell by all of our fans who are poured in here on the Les River that they love a fellow Frenchman. So a 62.80 is going to be his highest score, his first run. As we wind up checking off the box on jam number 4 with 2 heats to go. That means that we still have 8 riders, our top competitors, as we look at some of the highlights of our 3 riders of jam number 4.
So you see a couple tricks right there from Leva.
There was that triple tail whip. He landed a little flat. So again, we talk about the name of the game. There was that 360 downside whip. One way, 360 whip one direction to the downside, the other from Sandoval. But the name of the game is endurance and speed.
As well, you had seen there from Sandoval that beautiful front foot flare. I love how that trick looks. But here we go. Jean-Jean, unfortunately, not being able to hold it together on that front flip right there 2 times. Super unfortunate for the French rider to not be able to move through with that run. Leva, you see there, trying to hold his composure, and after his heat actually is sitting in 4th place. His first run score was the one that did it. Daniel Sandoval there as well, sitting in 3rd place with an 84.33 after his heat comes down. And then there you go, the second run and second attempt of Jean-Jean. He had that mix-up in run 1.
So, Ryan, we just witnessed our first 16 riders go. That means that we have 2 more heats. These are our top qualifiers. Nyquist, Fox, Walker, Dares, Martin, Andreev, Bruce, and Torres Gil have yet to ride. But what that means is we have 8 more athletes on course. These were the guys that yesterday in our qualifier finished with the highest scores. So technically, we might wind up seeing them with the highest scores today. Well, what does that mean? If you are sitting in 4th through 12th, you are biting your nails, because if you are in 1st through 4th, you technically qualified. So that means Marin Rantesh, Eric Reisev, Daniel Sandoval, and Jake Leva have already potentially made it into the finals. The places from 5th through 12th, you are saying, my fingers are crossed, my toes are crossed, my hair is even crossed, because you've got legends of the sport that deliver it when it counts, like our California rider doing it for Haro, Bell helmets, high seat posts everywhere, and riders that like to bring it. We're talking about Ryan Nyquist. That's right, you heard me correct. Ryan Nyquist, he is still ripping and pushing it. That was a rocket wall ride.
If you guys check that one at home, that's where he jumps off his pedals to both feet on the back pegs and then rode his wall. I had a little a note with him previously before we did a tiny interview, and I said, man, I used to watch you do rocket air, no-handers, and bar spins, and I was your character in Dave Muir BMX, and I can't believe I'm announcing contests with you now. Still so happy to see this guy out shredding day after day.
Yeah, Ryan's been pushing himself harder than ever. Bar spin to bar spin back.
Yes, he's going for that transfer.
Yeah, that was so cool the way he transferred.
He flatted. He got a flat tire on that one. Just hit the channel on the Black & Decker step up.
That is so disappointing. So Ryan has also been working with USA Cycling and the UCI, being a representative for our athletes here at Feast, also with our USA Cyclist. He's got the experience, he is a veteran, but the one thing Ryan has been known, I like to call it as the eye of Nyquist. Whenever the pressure is on, you heard of the eye of the tiger. Well, Ryan has been known to deliver time in and time out again and again. That is how you become a legend of the sport with over 20 years of competing. There's a look at that rocket going on the back pegs. I talked about his seat post because you can see it's actually higher than most other riders with a larger seat, so he can pinch it with his knees, balancing out the front end of his bike. That is why Nyquist does a lot of those bar spins. Here's a look at the 360. He doesn't get the distance on the channel. You could tell that he knew he got a flat tire, which you could actually see right now down on the course being worked at with Dustin Oram. Dustin travels around to all of our contests supporting all of the other riders, but he is also the bike director out at Woodward West.
I'm just seeing that he sees that he ripped his sidewall on that tire. He's going to have to do a whole new tire change. He's looking for help from other athletes. But hey, a man who is so excited to be out here at the Fees, cheers on all his fellow competitors. He's out there at every single event there is, cheering on all the athletes, an amateur at the Spine qualification, getting everyone riled up in the audience, and now for himself, this is none other than Brian Fox.
You saw Brian right there holding up the State Street bicycle shirt, but right now he's looking to hold up the crowd as he does a 720 bar spin. Brian Fox is always known to go enormously huge here in Montpellier because we've got the box jumps that can support his style. Where's he going?
Oh! Was that a transfer double backflip over to the SFR step up?
It was a little hard to see from our house if he transferred from one of the ramps to the other, but one thing that was clear, that was a double backflip. Brian Fox getting his momentum back with that tail whip. Fox has the ability to do not only double backflip rotations, but spin in the other axis. Let's see if he winds up putting that to use as he's got 18 seconds to go. Fox
trying to get the crowd riled up as he's going through. He has some big stuff still planned. I had a talk with him before. I said, what can we expect? He said, keep your eyes on the box jump.
Fox is focused as he's got 3 seconds to go. Milking these transitions with the no-hander. Look back air. And that is time for Fox. You see right there, Fox giving a big hug to your 2017 defending champion, Daniel Dares. You can tell Fox right there has got a lot of emotion going. He's also a little bit winded, putting a lot on the line when he rides. And you were correct, that was a double backflip transfer. That is insane.
Into a flare, wow, Brian Fox. I thought he was going so fast for that step-up jump.
The fact that you're able to do that double flip but also transfer, you can see he's got a lot of emotion going on. He's also very winded. So many different emotions go on when you're on the course. You're also just pushing your body and your mind to its absolute max. And that is something that Brian Fox does while he's out there.
Brian Fox right there. Man, I'm so happy to see you do stuff like this every time, just for the passion and the dedication towards your craft.
So Brian Fox, you know he's got the big bangers. We've seen in years past over the box jump him do some wild rotation tricks. You know that he likes to really stack it in from beginning to end. At the end of his run, he was wound up milking those transitions out there. He's going to be really interested to see what he's going to do on his second run. So if you are watching at home, you want to make sure that you message your friends and say, get ready to watch Brian Fox's second run.
Oh, it's not going to be enough. No, 87.2. Not enough to take out Myron Rantis from top place, but good enough for second place. What is it going to take to push higher than an 88 in this semi-qualification? We'll have to see. Does Colton Walker have what it takes?
So Colton Walker, another X Games gold medalist in BMX Dirt. He won it last year in Minneapolis. But right now, it is all about the Colton Walker show. He was our 6th place qualifier, 360 tail whip to bar spin. Walker 8th overall in 2017. Yes! That was a killer 4-hit combination, 360 with the double bar spin into a tail whip. Walker right there waving it off.
Are they talking about the wind?
I think Colton just said it's not worth it, if I heard correctly, and that might be what you were referencing, the wind. Maybe that's what's going on. It might also be a little hard to hear what he said, so I don't want to ever speculate on that. But Walker's still back in the course with 20 seconds to go. He might have said, you know what, I'm going to keep going, at least put down a score in case something happens on my second run.
I'm curious, it's tough up here not being able to be right down there with the athletes and know exactly what's going on course.
Correct me, I stand corrected. That was a 360 double tail whip to bar spin that Colton did. So cool again that we have that slow-mo feature on the course. There's so much action going on and action-packed, but that was a double tail whip to bar spin out of Colton Walker. So you can see Ryan Nyquist is sitting back on his horse. That means that he was able to change that tire around. Thankfully, he'll have a few moments to catch his breath and not be so scrambled. It definitely adds to the level of adrenaline when you've got to scramble between your 60-second runs to catch your breath. But one rider after Colton who definitely doesn't need an introduction, he is our 2017 defending champion. So Colton getting a 47.60. You see him shaking his head a little bit, but look at the bird's eye of our course as the name comes up on screen. Our defending 2017 champion. We're talking about the Venezuelan rider. If there's been a contest, he's been on top of the podium. If there's a gold medal, he's won it. If there's a cup, he owns it. We're talking about one of the feast favorites, Daniel Dares. So Daniel, 2017 came in top. It was a battle all year long with Logan Martin. In 2016, Logan Martin came out in top, and Daniel had to settle for second. Along with 2015, he was second overall, and he got top honors in 2014. So what does that tell you? That Daniel Dares has what it takes to be in that top spot consistently. 360 tail whip transfer for Dares. Bar spin very smooth into our honor ramp. So Daniel's all about strategy on the course, and we're going to see how he winds up playing into this new format where it is best run that counts, as Dares right now is looking to pour it on.
Holding a bit of break as he goes down that SFR step down right there. 360 tuck no-hander over the island feature and back into the honor box jump. 360 double tail whip.
Dares right here is usually known for putting it together at the end of his run. Let's see if he could do just that with 6 seconds to go. Yes, inverted table flare. Bar spin over that spine, and that is time. Like I said, Daniel likes to put a big trick, usually at the end right there with the bar spin over that spine. I'm not sure if that is what he initially had in mind, but Dares really utilizing that 60 seconds. So the Red Bull rider, we're looking at that corked out 720. Again, if you rewind the clock about 15 years ago, Daniel was one of the first riders to start doing that off-axis rotation. There is a 360 double tail whip. Looking at it from another angle, you can see the way that he just uses his upper body to spin that back end around as we are waiting Daniel Dares' fate to come here in the semifinal. If you are just joining us, we do have our final scheduled for tomorrow. You can see all schedules up on feast.tv. Very cool, the fact that we've got all of our different time zones. But as you look in the sky here, you can actually see there's a lot of cloud coverage. The humidity is extremely high, and the winds are picking up. The forecast is potentially calling for rain tomorrow. And much like in 2016, when we were not able to run our semi-final scores were the ones that we wound up using. So our riders today, knowing that we have a new format, we're in our semifinal and final, it is best run that counts. We are seeing some different strategies where the riders are really putting all their chips onto the felt and pushing them into the center of the table. The thing that's happening for some riders, they wind up messing up, they pull off saying, I want to get that top score. and then in their second run, they're either having bike difficulty and malfunction like we saw with Brandon Lupos, or maybe they wind up having a crash. So look at this, Daniel Dares with an 85.1. So Dares is going to sit very solid in that fourth position, which essentially means that he will qualify into our next position.
Then going back up to the top to the American from NorCal, this is Ryan Nyquist, the living legend himself, going right now with the 64, his lower score due to that transfer where he was trying to gap that 360 and ended up slicing the sidewall of his tire and getting a flat. Repaired his bike right now, and let's see if he is able 360 or 270 double bar spin Nyquist way right there. Rocket air that's back onto both pegs during the wall ride. Suicide no-hander, and able to really hold his own style with that seat height, actually.
If there's any rider who can deliver the goods when it counts, it's Nyquist. We talked about him being a legend of the sport for over 20 years. He's got the veteran experience out here, and there is a backflip bar spin. Ryan actually said that he rides his best when the cards are stacked, and we are seeing him go the distance on that wall ride, setting up for a backflip bar spin to bar spin for Nyquist. You see he wound up bypassing that step up that could hurt him because he wound up not doing what he potentially wanted to do. 360 to Case. Hopefully Ryan can pull something together right here as he winds up zonking all of his speed, but he does have 5 seconds to still work with. There was a rocket, no-hander, and a transfer with a 450. And there's a 540 well after the buzzer. So Ryan having some difficulty in his second run, but you're seeing the veteran not throw in the towel saying, hey, you know what, it didn't go exactly as planned. And that's a good thing because a lot of our scores out there are in the 80s, and there's two riders who are in the 70s, being Andre Souza and Kenneth Tancre, who have a 79.6 and a 77.80, and they are still potentially qualified. So hopefully, though, even though it didn't go Nyquist's way with this entire second run, he will be getting a score that's up into the 80s. Take a look at our parks out there. You might be going, oh my gosh, am I seeing 3 different parks in my peripheral vision? That is correct. Here we do it right at the feast. You want to make sure that you get yourself down here either for tomorrow, our finals, or start planning 2019. This is the premier action sports festival. This river is so cool that runs through Montpellier. I'm talking about the Les River, and at each different part, we have different sections that celebrate all different action sports. So you're looking at our BMX park here, but we have a street course where street skating and BMX street goes down. We've got a rollerblade inline course that also has scootering going down. We've got mountain bike slope style, and then what you couldn't see is just downriver in front of City Hall. We've got our centerpiece, which is our BMX spine ramp, and tonight we do have our competition, which will be taking place. But right there we see Ryan as his score comes in as 78.30, so he is going to be put in that nail-biting position. It looks like Kenneth Tancre is going to be bumping out. Ryan Nyquist, you see him sticking his tongue out right there. It's going to definitely take a miracle for Nyquist to wind up making it into the final.
Moving back to the man who you just saw emotionally get through that first run, Brian Fox right now sitting with a very solid 87.2 in second place, only 0.8 away from taking that lead.
So the big boy hailing from Florida coming in with the big tricks, hopefully in run number 2.
Oh! 900 out of the gate on that spine, or 1080, pardon me.
That was a 1080 indeed. It's all right that you are tongue twisted because he is going upside down double time with that double backflip transfer straight into the flare, showing you that he's got the absolute bike control out there.
Yes,
Brian Fox is a beast, grabbing the transition, coming into the box jump. Backflip tail whip.
Wow, Brian Fox unloading right out of the gate with that 1080 and then coming back as well, double time, doing it, yes, nose bonk to suicide no-hander.
Ryan, that is right. His ammunition is set to rapid fire as he is blasting down the tricks and hitting every one of his targets as he has 10 seconds to go. These are going to be the moments that matter for Fox. Can he stop it clean and stylish? You could hear on-course MC counting it down. toboggan on our Black & Decker. Step up and awarded with a huge round of applause. You can see Daniel Dares and Colton Walker up there excited.
I don't know if you guys know at home how heavy that run is, but they had two of the most, let's say, life-threatening tricks, period, in two-wheeled sports. Right out of the gate, 3 times rotation around into that 1080 on the step-down spine, holds 1 foot down to try and keep his line, races around course, and then flies that double backflip over the channel.
So look at that. That is 3 times around. Those were not just regular rotations. You saw how sideways his body was. That was not even necessarily for style. That's getting the full pull of spins. He's got to be the whirling dervish to go around and spot the landing, which Brian Fox does. So Fox with his first run was sitting with an 87.2 in second place. That first is still held on by Marin Rantish. He is our Croatian rider who was in our first heat and threw down a solid run, and he's been holding strong throughout this entire competition as we've witnessed the 16 other riders after his heat go. So Brian Fox threw down a big run. You see right there, he's throwing some props to State Street Bicycles, one of his sponsors out there who are definitely cheering on, going absolutely nuts as we are waiting for Brian Fox's potentially big score coming in after what was an absolutely big score. Fox right now bringing the big dance moves for a big round of applause. Throwing a little bit of a signature dance moves for Brian Fox. But let's see as scores come in. Right now, we are dying with anticipation to see, will it be enough? Again, an 88 is what he needs. 87.2 was in his first run. He basically needs 0.8. Not even a full part to move up. We're taking a look at our judges. You can actually see to the right of your screen, that's head delegate for the UCI, Bart De Jong, who is taking a very statuesque pose, overlooking all of the action, making sure our judging is on par and making sure that our athletes are properly represented out in this competition. Score is waiting to come in right now. Will it be enough? Brian Fox score coming in. We are waiting, biting our nails, and it is not enough, but still a very impressive score, an 87.60 for Mr. Fox. It means that Marin Rantish is going to hold on to that top spot.
Well, then you can see there that they deducted enough to say that pedal slip on the 1080 should be lower than Marin Rantish's score. That means we have to have absolute perfection to stay on top right now. Colton Walker, Eye of the Tiger, looks very serious as he's about to drop in. He knows that he has to get something huge out of the bag.
Yeah, shout out to all the Midwest BMXers right now who are cheering on Colton Walker. As mentioned, this is your current X Games gold medalist in BMX dirt. The reason why he is able to really put together some crazy jumping tricks and variations with consistency on box jumps, but you also don't finish with an impressive 8th place overall in the 2017 series here at Feast if you can't bring that action to the quarter pipes. So Colton Walker starting things off very smooth, lacing the tricks together on that tail whip as he goes over the box jump. Boom!
Whoa! 360 double tail up to bar spin. Late bar spin, might I add. That was almost too late. Held onto it perfectly, though. Great composure coming back through.
Colton with blind faith on that 360 bar spin over the box jump backwards. I say that because you can't spot the landing, but right there an off-axis backflip as Walker double tail whip transfers. Walker downside 360 tail whip, looking to fly the skies as he whips around 15 seconds. We talk about this being some of the most crucial in a run. Let's see if Colton Walker can find himself. No-handed 360. Walker with the flare up high. 3, 2, 1, and a truck driver flying out, waving to the crowd. So Walker's first run was a 47.6. I'm going to put it out there. I think it's a very safe assumption to say his second run is going to be higher than that. We saw his first run, he wound up stopping halfway through, got back on it and stopped again. This time he had the full pull, utilized the 60 seconds. 360 double tail whip to bar spin. That was insane, Ryan. Holding on. You talked about that bar spin being last minute, last moment, and a final thought. But Walker definitely had clear vision with it as he spun the handlebars around. You see right now the names on your screen. Colton Walker. Up next to ride is Daniel Dares. Dares originally from Caracas, Venezuela, currently living in North Carolina, where he's got his own skate park, his own training facility, which is open to the public. So if you are in the United States or planning to go anywhere through North Carolina, you could go down there and skate or ride BMX at Daniel's local facility and get in some tricks and maybe some pointers even from your defending 2017 champion.
You see right there, Daniel Dares up next. Colton Walker on deck, just finishing his second run, waiting for the scores to come in right now. If you guys are just tuning in with us, we are live here with the FIS World Series Montpellier 2018, presented by SFR, Montpellier Mediterranean Metropole, an honor for the brave. This is the UCI BMX Freestyle Park World Cup semifinals for the male competitors. And if you're wondering why these scores are so insane and we're waiting so long for the judges right now, that's because we are possibly looking at a weather issue for tomorrow. Mother Nature might be rolling in with a storm, and that might mean that the semi-final scores are going to hold for the finals. All the athletes are putting in all that they have right now on course. We're waiting for the score to come in for Colton, which is a nice fourth place right there, 85.7.
Wow, Colton Walker shaking things up. Look at that, sitting in that fourth place. The reason, though, that next name is still with that highlighter, it's because this is our defending champion from Venezuela who has yet to ride the course. Again, this is our BMX semi-final, but all of our warriors are treating it like it's a potential final, because as we take a look at the battlefield, you can see our flags blowing in the wind. You can also see that there's a lot of cloud coverage out here, and if it winds up raining tomorrow and our final cannot take place, our semifinal scores will stick. So Daniel Dares currently sitting in fifth with an 85.1. Dares definitely has what it takes to be up in the 90s. In 2017, he was our champion. 16, he was second overall. 15, second overall. And in 2014, he was our champion. So he's got what it takes as the rider from Venezuela drops.
There's his signature 360 no-foot can to tail whip that Daniel Dares has perfected. Coming back across course, missing some features, going for that double tail whip 360 transfer.
So Dares, again, likes to systematically check off the boxes on a course. He likes to utilize as many features as possible, knowing that the judges want to see a rider have complete control and maybe use features that no one else has, like that transfer. That was the first rider we saw come out of the bowl into our elevated quarter pipe. Dares with 20 seconds to go, approaching the box jump off axis 720. Something that was very uniquely characteristic to that jump in particular was the fact he pushed through the lip, getting the distance to spot the landing, making sure he's not leaving anything up the chance to hang up on that box jump. So Dares right there, getting another full run, but what you can see on your screen, Marin Rantish still holding on to that high score. Usually that is not something that you see because, again, these are reverse ranking from our qualifier yesterday. So as we move through the list, we're getting to our top qualifiers. Daniel Dares qualified in 5th, but Marin Rantish, even though he was our 21st qualifier, he had such a great run. He's been holding strong with that 88. Daniel Dares definitely known to jump into the 90s. That is how you do it if you are the defending champion. And will his run be enough?
You see there that great aerial view from our drone flying over the river in Montpellier. This is where the venue lines up, as you can see at the very north corner of that screen. You see one more skate park that's actually for the smaller wheels. Hurricane Parks has created a separate course with different radiuses for the inline and scooter. BMX Park has their own course. Then BMX Street shares the skateboard course down to the bottom. And then we have the mini ramp, like you said, Daryl, down at City Hall right in front. the Golden Gates there, we'll say. Nyquist going over some stuff with Dares right now after his run. He's waiting to see, Dares I'm speaking about, is waiting to see if he is able to beat that score. Right now, gets his score coming in. It's an 85.92. It's going to be an improvement for fourth place, but not good enough to take out Marin Rantis. As we wait and get heat number 6 underway, we had a moment to check out and get back up to speed with Nick Bruce back in Japan. Let's take a look at that.
We're getting ready to go to the Olympics. We have to be tip-top shape, and anything that's thrown at us, which only helps us learn how to adapt quicker, that's only going to help us in the future. I feel like I have a simple approach when I see a course. I try to find which areas where my strengths are, but it's hard to plan everything exactly until you're riding it, because you get the drawing, you're like, okay, I could do these same tricks that I did last stop on these same exact ramps. But then you get here, you're like, oh, you just have to clear the slate and get back to the drawing board. So you have to be really flexible, and it's try to find those points at each part of the course and try to spread it out through my run. So it's not where I'm wearing myself out back to back, but where I could spread it out to keep everything exciting. And it's fun for me because I could actually breathe through my run and just charge at different obstacles that cater to my riding.
Well, some words of wisdom there from Nick Bruce. That is definitely one rider you want to take the advice from when breaking down a course, because in Hiroshima he finished 5th place, and also last year in 2017 he was one spot away from podium in 4th place for the points race. But right now we are looking at our next heat of riders. You're seeing the Australian Logan Martin. He finished 2nd overall, and you're saying this is the first time we're seeing Logan on course in 2018, and that is correct because he is recovering from an injury.
He had a heavy collarbone injury where he shattered it. He just showed me the scar runs from the right side of his shoulder to the middle of his chest. But he's back 2 months later and said he's feeling great. Back on the bike for the first time on the FIS World Series, but he's looking to catch up.
Wow, Logan right there with the backflip transfer. So Logan Martin in 2017 season was trading blows back and forth with Daniel Dares, where they were basically neck and neck for the points. Dares came out on top. In 16, it was the same story with Logan Martin on top. So Logan right now is definitely going to be a focused rider on the course. He missed the first stop. He knows that the points are crucial. And you know Logan, he is a top competitor. He wants to make sure that he gets that top place finish, leaving nothing to chance as we wind up progressing through our 5 stops.
Logan Martin getting a very solid run out here. Looks super composed, as if there was no sense of an injury. That was a special K backflip flare. Haven't seen that one before, actually. And it's going to do it for the Australian from Brisbane.
So that might be a little bit of strategy. Now, I'm not playing down Logan's run at all. We just know that he's got so much ammo in the cannon to pull out really big shots. You see right there for that 360 going a little bit with a potential variation on the bars, 360 downside tail whip. You also have that big backflip transfer. But we know that Logan's got so many enormous tricks. I think this might be a little bit of his strategy, getting down a solid run, making sure he puts a number on the board.
And I think it's a great strategy, because after all, this is still the semifinals. There is a chance that we are going to have to do the finals tomorrow. So maybe you don't want to put all your candy in one basket, let's say. And right now, I do think with a run like that, he is able to get into the finals with that.
Now, Ryan, I want to ask you, we saw that flare. You call that a special K flip?
Yeah, I would call that a special K. Like, usually at like the trails, it was if you're going over and you do one hand, 1 foot off, and you make this K. And I mean, we used to call it a special K.
All right, cool. Maybe that's a little bit of local flavor at your trails. That's the first time that I've ever heard that. I know there was a different style to do 1 foot one-handers. You could do the Ryan van der Veen way. You could do different ways, right? You could take them off on the same side, or you could wind up doing alternating side. But all right, I'll go with the special K right there. I don't know if that's a term in the mountain bike world.
No, it was usually, I was like riding with BMX kids usually.
All right, well, look at this. Logan Martin putting up a solid one. 86.96. So he's just point. So he's actually just shy of an 87 right there. So with Brian Fox is holding an 87.60, and Marin Rantish still going strong with that 88.
And talking about Russians, we are now moving into the Red Bull athlete Kostya Andreev.
Yeah, Kostya in 2017 was 6th place overall. He also last year had one of the biggest tricks in our best trick competition, where I believe, Ryan, he
Cannonball bar spin to tail whip, or was that?
I think actually you're calling that correct. He did the cannonball bar spin, and then he held onto the seat and did that tail whip around. So it's kind of a hybrid right there. No one else is doing it like Kostya Andreev. There you go. There is that Superman secret with the tail whip. Imagine a cannonball bar spin being done beforehand. It's crazy. It's totally mind-boggling.
He's so fun to watch. He always has such a big smile on his face.
That's what we're seeing right now, is some more insanity as Kostya does that no-hander floating.
Yeah, 440, 450 tail whip right there, and then coming back in. This is usually where Kostya puts in a lot of lip tricks and shows some technical coping abilities towards the end of his run.
I dug that no-hander transfer on that step down, but Kostya right here is looking a little bit lost to the end of his run. Bar spin to disaster. So Kostya coming out strong right there. At the end of his run, you mentioned that. You know, you never want to judge a rider against his riding, just like we never want to call a run against another rider. But if there is a best trick contest, whether it be in the air jumping or that we've seen in the past on our spine mini ramp competition, Kostya's usually putting his hand in the hat, so to speak, to wind up pulling out a first place in it. So we know he's got those tech abilities, and he's going to have another run up. But as we look on the screen, we see a rider yet to go is Nick Bruce. We just heard some words of wisdom about how he winds up approaching a course. He talked about being essentially, you wind up thinking about what you're going to do when you look at the drawing, and then when you get there, you might have to change the game plan. And that's because all of our courses are very uniquely designed and built per competition. Hurricane Ramps puts together these awesome ramps out here, and we can see that this is a one-of-a-kind course. All of our riders have been raving about this course because there's so many different options of tricks and styles that you can do out here, catering to everybody. When we had our Hiroshima stop, it was definitely more bowl featured. We had riders, especially in our women's competition, like Angie Marino, who wound up focusing and flowing. We also had that go down with Brandon Lupos, who was our first place finisher. So Kostya Andreev, 86.1. That is not too shabby at all. He is going to have another opportunity, but I love that zoom right there, panning back where you can see the focused determination of Nick Bruce.
Nick Bruce, who we just caught you up to speed with that little feature back in Hiroshima, Japan. Now he is here at the second stop of the FIS World Series, gunning for the top, qualified second out there in the field, and now he is going to be the second last rider to drop. Nick Bruce on course.
All right, the big boy from Youngstown, Ohio. Talk about focus and determination. Backflip, tail whip, Bruce up and out of the vert wall. Something big is going to go down, and that is a 360 backflip. Bruce setting up with the tail whip transfer. Ryan, you can feel the wind start to accelerate out here. As I said that, Nick hung up just a little bit. You can see the UCI flags absolutely just whipping in the wind out there. A rider's got to feel it on the course as Nick Bruce is cutting through that headwind.
You know, the UCI rules state that every rider has to get one run in for the entire contest to go through. And Nick Bruce is our second last rider. You're mentioning that weather. Let's just cross our fingers, knock on wood under your chair, and we'll get this going because he seems to not be affected by it. Tail whip very high on that quarter pipe.
Yeah, Nick is definitely a rider who focuses on and off the bike, making sure he's in mental prime condition and physical condition. He's got the endurance to smash down a flare tail whip at height at the buzzer. The only other rider we saw go that high on a flare was the Brazilian Andre Luiz de Souza. But Nick Bruce right there putting on his big flare tail whip right there. As you can just see all of our fans piled in on the opposite side of the river cheering on Nick. So Nick right there, you hear it, Catfish talking about one of the nicest guys. That definitely is Nick Bruce, as we are looking at the backflip tail whip over that transition to transition, coming back at us, backflip 360. Nick with the tail whip, that was huge, coming out of that extended island, and that was that flare tail whip, smashing very clean to pedals. So Nick Bruce's score to come in. Our next rider, you can see though, he was definitely one of our top qualifiers, coming all the way from Argentina. That means out of our 70 plus riders in our open qualifier, he finished in first out there.
And I'm just going to go out there and say one of the top riders this weekend at the FIS World Series, competing as well in the spine contest. And I'm not sure on the numbers there, but I know he was one of the top qualifiers as it was going through the rankings of a huge open heat. Now you see Nick Bruce going for a little bit of talk as a crowd gets on their feet to stay warm. Scores coming in for Nick Bruce. It's good enough for third place, 87.3. He's happy with that one.
So that means that Justin Dowell is on the bubble right now. He is going to be stressing out. Will he make it or not? That is the question, because one other rider can potentially bump him out, and that is this man coming all the way from Cordoba, Argentina. In 2016, we saw him blast into the scene here at the FIS on our spine competition, and from his first air, the height that he displayed, we knew a new superstar was born. And right now in 2018, the course is for your #1 qualifier, Jose Torres Gil.
And that's exactly what you're talking about. Blast on the scene. The amplitude of this kid is untouchable as he does that 360 double tail whip. Look at how high he is above this. We have to have a, you know, it would be great if we could overlay other riders to this, because you could really see the height difference that Jose puts forth in his riding.
Yeah, and to get the height, you've got to have the bike control, and you've got to find your line. So that is the equation that the judges want to see. But if you throw in a big front flip on the SFR step up, that will definitely get you those high scores and high points. So as mentioned, in the bubble spot is Justin Dowell. He is feeling the stress and pressure put on by Jose Torres Gil, because we are only taking 12 to our final.
For a bit of an opposite tail whip there. This means that he's spinning the tail whip around with his non-dominant leg. Yes, and a 360 nose pick, finishing it off right there. Jose Torres Gil, run one in the banks. In the books, pardon me.
So essentially, the only rider that might not qualify is Justin Dowell. He is in 12th place. That means unofficially Rim Nakamura is in. But we're talking about whether, and the reason we keep stressing this is that we had the rain in 2016 where we were not able to do our final. So look at that front flip. So good. Setting up for the double tail whip. That's because he landed very smooth up top, nose bonk 360. But the rain could be a big factor out here. We've seen it in the past. So it's going to be interesting. When we go back to the top right now, Logan Martin, Kostya Andreev, Nick Bruce, and Jose Torres Gil, are they going to say, you know what, I already qualified, I'm in? Or are they going to go, you know what, this could count. This is a points race. Logan missed our first stop. He knows how important it is because all of our other riders wind up having that lead on him. In Hiroshima, Brandon Lupos got the first spot, followed by Ken Intencio, Daniel Dares, Jeremy Mallet, Nick Bruce, and Alex Colborn. So they have a substantial points lead over. And look at that, Jose Torres Gil with an 84.76. I got to tell you, I'm pretty surprised by that score, but that means that he is going to potentially, he's going to be in, and that means that unfortunately Justin Dowell gets bumped out. But what we're looking at right now is we go on to the first rider of heat number 6 taking the second run. This is the Australian. This was your 2016 FIS World Series champion. This is Logan Martin.
Wow, Logan Martin, just such determination to come back after such a big injury like that only 2 months previous. Starting off in a different section of the course there, 360, tail out to bar spin, flare bar spin over the channel gap, and a 3 bar spin down into a 360 double downside whip over that Peninsula feature.
Wow, Logan right now getting cheered on by fellow Australians with that backflip tail whip. I'm talking about Jay Tui tuning in, saying, "Go, Logan, go," as he's at the halfway mark. These 30 seconds have been great in the first half, but can he keep that equation as he goes over at the backflip bar spin? Logan showing commanding bike control in that double tail whip.
Coming up into the down spine right there. I believe that was a backflip 1 foot can into a tuck no-hander. Pumping back. Does he have time for one more trick? Alley-oop alley-oop tuck no-hander right there. And at the buzzer with a flare right to the last thread.
I gotta tell you, I'm a fan of that no-handed alley-oop right there. It was very cool that he went with maybe a little bit more of a style-esque trick than maybe a traditional flare that you might see that he threw down afterwards. But very cool for Logan Martin. So Logan on his first run was an 86.96. He's currently sitting in 4th. He wants to move up. He could have technically just rolled onto the course, waved to the crowd, and said, you know what, I'm in it for the finals. But what we're seeing, our riders, it looks like the general consensus down there on the battlefield is, you know what, let's not risk anything. This could be our final backflip, tail whip over that channel gap. That was enormous for Logan. It's so good having him back on the scene with that broken collarbone that obviously has healed. It could be a mental game when a rider comes back from an injury, but Logan, obviously his shoulder is working well if he's able to wind up spreading his wings on that alley-oop no-hander. So Marin still holding strong right now with that 88. Again, that is not traditional that you see the first heat holding on to that top score, but Marin has come into his own in 2018. And he is hoping that he will wind up continuing in that top spot. Because if you are going to be sitting in the top in this semifinal, you are probably going to be doing a rain dance tonight, hoping that it winds up dumping down so you wind up getting those first place points. But if you are anywhere in the 12th place and up, you are going to hope for sunny skies. So we're going to see the score to beat is an 88. We're wondering right now, and look at that, we got a new leader. Logan Martin with an 89.40, skyrocketing into that top spot.
After all that waiting, we have a new leader. Marin Rantis has moved into 2nd place. Big smile on the face of Kostya Andreev. He's gonna, let's see if he takes this one. He's already in 6th place. He knows he is qualified for the finals, but like the rest of these competitors, he knows that might not be the case, that this one might be taken to finals. Kostya Andreev dropping in right now. 360 bar spin to tuck no-hander.
Ryan, you could just feel the humidity building out here, and also with each gust of the wind, cooler air is coming in to our park here as 360 double tail whip, I believe.
Yeah, and into a Superman seat grab to tail whip.
Flare bar spin. We're seeing that he's having a little bit of difficulty as Kostya, though, recovers with that 360 tail whip.
Yeah, getting great landing on that transition. Tuck no-hander and coming back into the last half of his run here. 450 tail whip right there.
Kostya with an opposite air, taking that foot off bar spin alley-oop, coming up to the bar spin foot jam. Kostya downside 360 tail whip. Clock is ticking with the backflip. Oh. Well, look, that is disappointing right there, going down with that crash. But what's not disappointing was his first run of an 86.1. So Kostya sitting in at 6th place currently. Again, this might not be a final. I know we're stressing it a lot, but we just want to paint a clear picture of why the strategy of our riders out here are taking place. You might say, hey, they already qualified. Why are they going for a wild backflip transfer? Well, they know that this could count. So Kostya with the 360 tail whip to no-hander. And even though Kostya is sitting in 6th place right now, that is the number that he was sitting after all the points from our 5 stops last year, 6th overall in 2017. You see that backflip. Thankfully, he gets up, going down hard right there, but enough to do that dip, bowing for our audience. So 64.40 as we see Kostya, that Red Bull lid on, just smiling for our crowd, having a great time out here as we still have 2 riders yet to go They technically beat Logan Martin in our qualifier yesterday. 2 riders that potentially have on this course to get a greater score, and one of them is Youngstown, Ohio's Nick Bruce.
Nick Bruce laying it down right here. Backflip, tail whip. Coming into the box jump with that huge cork 720 tuck no-hander. Tail whip to tabletop. Transferring into the step down or the long landing of that spine. Look at that massive transfer that we saw Bulldog Alex Colborn hit before, but Nick Bruce hit it with a flare now and into a 540 flare on the Honor quarter pipes there. Backwards on the Honor box at 360X up. Nick Bruce, 20 seconds left, but he's not slowing down yet.
Yeah, here we go with Bruce going the distance on that transfer. A tabletop for some style. Hits that tail whip as he charges back towards the box jump. He is going to look to light the fuse after this curved wall ride. Nick Bruce at the buzzer.
Whoa, and with a flare whip, and he lands it. That could be the exclamation point in this run.
Nick Bruce putting down a solid second run. Just to recap, first run 87.3. You see getting a big hug right there. That was Irek Raizev, who's currently sitting in 5th place. Nick Bruce currently in 4th, so there is some camaraderie out there from our riders. As we are looking at Nick Bruce going 360 no-handed backflip. That is the air traffic controller. Paying some props and homage to the late, great Dave Mira. And we are seeing Nick Bruce with a flare transfer. That is insane. All the way into the vert wall, and there you go, at a lot of height. Landed a little low, but he stomped so clean to the pedals. Most other riders would have blew their feet off or blew off the back of the bike. This is not just anyone, this is Nick Bruce. So the score to beat, an 89.40, and I got to tell you, Ryan, if there's one rider who might beat that score, I would say it's Nick Bruce, and he does, a 91.60. So Nick Bruce firing back, going in that first spot. It's Bruce, Martin, Rantish, Fox, Raizev, Kostya Andreev, Daniel Dares, Colton Walker, Jose Torres-Gil, Daniel Sandoval, Jake Leva, and Rim Nakamura are sitting in your top 12 right now. But if there is one man who's already qualified and has what it takes, it's our number 1 qualifier. His name is highlighted because he is the last rider to go. He has an 84.76. And if you look on top of our massive sub wall ride / vert wall, you will see not only all of our flags flapping in the wind, but you will see the Argentinian rider who blasts big airs, known as Jose Torres-Gil. Here we go, backflip transfer, bar spin flare, off to a great start, finding his footing on that 360 downside tail whip. Oh, hanging up just a little bit short on the 360 whip. Jose back on it, double whip.
Torres-Gil going down and just washing out with his front wheel. What an upset.
Wow, Torres-Gil going down right there, but still impressive, sitting in 9th place. He will advance to our final. Let's look at that backflip transfer. I can't believe that we've consistently seen riders go from Black & Decker to SFR box step up so smooth and consistently. Unfortunately, that hip was not the same story for Jose Torres-Gil as he wound up crashing right there. So we are looking at the scores. Nick Bruce is going to be in that top spot with the 91.60, followed by Logan Martin. Massive respect to Marin Rantish holding strong with that 88 throughout the entire event right there. That is so challenging to do, and to wind up holding strong, but just at the end, utilizing our best run format, our 2 riders wound up bumping him down to 3rd place. So Ryan, we look at the smoke coming off the battlefield as we just had 24 of the best competitors out there battling it out, seeing which of the top 12 were going to be making it into our finals. Because we just had some fantastic riding. But look right here, you can see the perspective of our course also across the Les River, where we've got that embankment with all of our fans. But we are looking at our standings, the results of the semifinal. The American Nick Bruce, the only rider in the 90s, is going to be in that top spot, followed by Logan Martin, Marin Rantish, Brian Fox, Eric Reisev, Kostya Andreev, Daniel Dares, Colton Walker, Jose Torres-Gil, Daniel Sandoval, Jake Leva, and just getting in there, the Japanese rider, Rim Nakamura.
Now looking at this one, Alex Colborn, Kevin Peraza, some big names there, Ryan Nyquist, Brandon Lupos, Cam Peake, who are all not able to make it into possibly tomorrow's final. That's going to be an interesting one if we do get through to it. What we are saying, if we do get through to it, we are hearing that there is a large call for a storm coming in tomorrow, which means that is why you just saw an absolutely insane semifinals for the UCI BMX Freestyle Park. What were your thoughts on that one so far?
The competition, just the ante has been upped in Hiroshima, and now it's been blown through the roof here in Montpellier. It's so cool to see our new format where it's best run counts. You're seeing a lot more creativity out there, but it's also interesting to see the way that the riders balance the risk versus reward of how it played out and paid out in our semifinal.
And there is so much stuff happening out here in Montpellier. Let's take a look and see what other action we got going for Saturday. We just finished up the UCI BMX Freestyle Park semi-finals. We're going to be moving in at 5 o'clock to the UCI BMX Flatland, and then we are going to have the Spine Ramp Pro. That's going to be the final. I believe that is actually the schedule for tomorrow. Today we are going to be having the inline happening just behind me. You see the guys warming up on course, so make sure you guys stay tuned. That's going to be happening at 4:10, and then we're moving into the UCI BMX Freestyle Flatland World Cup at 5 o'clock. You guys, make sure you stay tuned. Thanks, Daryl, so much for joining me on this one. Any last words?
I want to say to all of our BMX fans out there, keep riding and keep tuning in. The spine competition is gonna be bonkers.
Thanks again, and see you next time.
The Feast World Series represents the premier action sports event, not only for the top-level riding, but for the top-level fans. You can look out at the thousands that come out to support all of our athletes.
This is going to be an amazing event that we have coming up for you.
It's unreal. There's no words for it. It's literally the biggest crowd in BMX, and good memories. I can't believe this is happening right now, and I really need to wake up if this is a dream.
Oh yeah, it's the most insane feeling ever. I can't believe it. Means you blow my mind again.
Oh my goodness.